guest experience engineering. Now, the reason why we are doing this is because as a supervisor, as a manager, irrespective of what position you find yourself, you should understand what guest service excellence is, and you should be able to engineer a guest experience that guests will live to remember. So without much ado, I'll just jump right into this class for today. So let's look at the introduction. The introduction says, in hospitality, every interaction influences how a guest feels, remembers, and values your brand. Now, so something you must understand: every guest, um, remembers how the interaction went between your front office people, between your bar people. So that's why you must understand that it is very critical for you to be able to engineer guest service and guest experience. Now, it says here, while many organizations focus on serving the guest, only a few truly create experiences that are memorable, consistent, and emotionally satisfying. Now, you see, I will always say this, that you see, exceptional service is not a mistake. It is curated. People sat down and asked themselves, what kind of service should we put out that would actually satisfy people? So what it means is that when you walk into facility and you actually experience excellent service happening, it's not a mistake. It means that people, either the management team, the owners, sat down and said, let's curate something that will actually make guests, to feel welcome and actually have a very good experience. Now, so what it means is that in as much as you want to deliver exceptional service for your brand, it will not happen until you're able to sit down and create that kind of experience you want to see. And I keep saying this, for every department of your facility, you have to sit down and intentionally create the kind of experience you want people to have. That's the only time you'll be able to teach people about it, because you've intentionally created it. And once you've created it, now it's now time to teach people about the kind of experience you want people to have when they walk into the brand. But it starts from being able to curate that kind of experience that you want your guests to see. Now, this one says, service excellence and guest experience engineering are the two pillars that support any world-class hospitality operation. I'll take that again. Service excellence and guest experience engineering are the two pillars that support any world-class hospitality operation. So what this simply means, or what this is simply telling you, is that, you see, there's no excellent service that is the function of a mistake. There's none. Any excellent service you see has been carefully and uniquely created. And it says there that service excellence and guest experience engineering are the two pillars that support any world-class hospitality operation. So what it means is that, service excellence and guest experience, these two things. Now, understand that guest experience is the feeling the guest has at the end of that particular transaction, while service excellence is that thing that you created. So when you curate that service, what you are trying to achieve is a guest experiencing this and experiencing it an exception in a very exceptional way. So what it means is that if you don't curate a good service excellence, the guest will never experience something unique. So it means it has to be an intentional effort by either the head of department, either the marketing team, either the operational team, but somebody needs to sit down and say, for check-in, this is what I want to see. For food service, this is service we want to see. So let me proceed, guys. Now, before teaching complaint solving, because you see, most times we jump do not happen. Complaints will definitely happen. But you see, we should be focused first on trying to ensure that we mitigate that complaint from happening. We stop that complaint from happening. And complaint is a function of service lapses or service failure somewhere. So when we focus attention on trying to avoid issues where customers will complain, you don't even need to start teaching. Yes, it's okay to teach your staff about how solving complaints. But if that is your area of focus, what it simply means is that your service, there's nothing to write them about the service. If you keep teaching your staff about handling complaints alone, what it means is that you're not sure that your staff can deliver excellent service. And that's why you have to teach them how to manage the service when eventually it goes bad. Because complaint handling is managing service that has gone bad, trying to make sure that the thing does not escalate further or go out of hand. Now, so let me read this again. Before teaching complaint solving, frontline and management team must first understand what excellent service truly is, how it differs from ordinary service, and how to intentionally engineer powerful guest experiences. When service systems are properly engineered, complaint reduce drastically and brand loyalty increase. So you can take note of that. When service systems are properly engineered, complaints reduce drastically and brand loyalty increases. There's no way you engineer your service. There's no way you ensure that your service is qualitative and your complaints will not reduce. Now, so what we are saying in the course of this training is that in as much as you want to solve complaints or you want to reduce complaints on the part of, sorry, I need to switch off one of my, sorry guys.
Hello, guys. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, I think there is an issue with the host audio, so we should just wait. I think he'll come back around soon.
Okay, then.
Okay. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can, but it's still echoing.
Yes, I understand. Okay, is this still okay now? I think it's still okay. Let me sort that, guys. All right. We should be good now. Please confirm that it's not echoing anymore.
It's all good now, sir.
Okay, so we are good now. Thank you. Okay, so let's continue, guys. Okay. So we've established what service is. So let's quickly look at what excellent service is or service excellence is. So we said here, service excellence is the consistent, intentional, and exceptional delivery of service that exceeds guest expectations. So now take note of the word consistent, intentional. So what this means is that for service to be excellent, first it has to be consistent. And we keep saying that excellent service is not an accident. It's a function of repeated effort, done every time. So now for you to be able to achieve service that is consistent, that service must be intentional. So it means somebody must curate it, somebody must teach it, somebody must ensure that everybody in the system or everybody in that line of operations understand that this is what needs to be done to achieve this particular level of service. So it means that excellence can only be achieved where there's consistency and where there's intentionality. And it also says here, exceptional delivery of service that exceeds guest expectation. What this means is that if that particular service does not even meet the guest expectation and exceed it, that means it's not excellent. Now, so your service cannot be bare. Your service cannot be minimum. Your service cannot be like every other brand, and you expect that you achieve excellence. Now, what most brands are doing is that they are just offering normal service. There's nothing exceptional about it. There's nothing excellent about it because the line managers, the departmental heads have not sat down to say we want to intentionally create something that is different from another brand. Something that when you walk into another brand, people don't do it. So please take note of, as a line manager, as or the operations, wherever department you're heading, that excellent service is a function of consistency and intentionality. Now, being intentional means somebody must sit down, somebody must spend time to draft the kind of service that they want to offer to customers. That's the intentionality. Now, when you're intentional, you need to now understand that you need to put in effort to ensure that these things are done consistently. And the only way you can achieve consistency in service, like we said when we started this training, is that your service must be well spelled out as an SOP, as something that people can learn. And I said when we started the training, that your SOP must be broken down into simple tasks that people understand. So it means for you to achieve excellence, you must be consistent. So meaning that you must be ready to follow up this thing every time. You must put in checklists to ensure that your staff understand that they must adhere to these things in order to exceed guest expectation. And that's the only time we can say that we've offered excellent service. So even if you don't take anything out this evening, please take this, that excellent service is a function of consistency, intentionality, and consistently, exceeding guest expectations. It is not accidental. It is the mastery of systems, number one. So it means for us to be able to exceed customers' expectation and offer this excellent service that we're talking about, you must master systems. Your system is a function of your standard that you set. So you cannot talk about systems when you've not set standard that people understand. So you must set system, and you must ensure that you, as the person that sets the system, understand the system you are setting. Not today you tell your staff to clear from the left. Tomorrow you're coming back to tell the same staff to clear from the right. You end up confusing them. So what that simply means is that you're not a master of the system you're even trying to put in place. So understand this. For you to achieve excellent service, you must master systems. You must have, you must set a system that people portray good attitude. Very important. So meaning that you can't start condoning negative attitude just because you like someone or just because you want people to like you. As somebody that wants to achieve excellence at all times, the attitude of your staff, first of all, your attitude must look like somebody that wants to achieve excellence. The attitude of your staff must be such that shows that they like and they love excellence. The communication must be clear. So it means you must be a master of communication. So meaning your communication must be clear, it must be precise, and you must teach your staff the importance of clear communication in the system. And most importantly, the emotional intelligence required to make every guest feel valued and respected. One of the things you must learn to teach your staff is that on duty, they are expected to be emotionally intelligent. But you see, you don't just tell your staff, I expect you to be emotionally intelligent. Have you taken time to teach them to understand that their emotions matters in service? Have you taken time to sit them down and say, let's forget the big grammar? Emotional intelligence is you understanding that the way you feel, the way you behave might affect your guest, might affect your service, might affect the next person that is working close to you. So these are the things you must be able to communicate to your staff when you're trying to achieve excellence in service. Now look at the keywords here. The keywords here are consistency, intentionality, emotional connection. Because I keep telling people, for you to be able to achieve excellent service, there must be an emotional connection between you and the guest in the process of offering service. So you must teach your staff. Service deals with emotions. Service deals with you tickling the emotions of the guest, psyching them, and ensuring that in the process of giving them that service, you tickle their emotions the right way, and they are happy at the end of the day. Because I keep telling people that service is emotional. Now, let me explain that. I keep saying that service is intangible, and people don't understand. Service is the feeling that the guest has at the end of the transaction. So that means service is emotional. So that means what you say it, how you move, affects that connection. So if your staff do not understand the importance of smiling, the importance of standing very fast when guests walking, the importance of smiling when the guest, is just walking into the bar, now they will not understand this place of emotions. They would think you want them to go and fall in love with the guest. So you need to understand where this emotional connection comes into this service excellence that we are talking about. Then we now talk about professionalism. Professionalism is behaving and looking like the kind of service you are expected to offer. Behave and look like the kind of job you're doing. And most importantly, we also talked about the keywords here, guest satisfaction. Guest satisfaction is when there's fulfillment. Somebody feels fulfilled that he or she is not wasting money, that whatever he or she is paying for is actually worth it. That is guest satisfaction. So there's a difference between just service and service excellence. So let me move on, guys. Now let's talk about guest experience. Now, guest experience, in summary, is the total sum of all touch points I've talked about. Before arrival, during their stay, after their departure, how do they feel about the whole process? It includes emotions, sensory impressions, service interactions, environment, and outcome. Now, so these are all the things that sums up the guest experience. It's very funny how most times owners don't know. So let me talk about owners. That as simple as uniform, a proper uniform can create an impression in the minds of a customer. So you as an operations manager, you as a departmental manager, do you even pay attention to these things, understanding that these things has a way of either impressing the customer or making them feel that they are in the wrong space? So let me go back to this. Guest experience is the total sum of all the touch points that we just talked about before arrival. Now, you see, most times guests make decisions about their stay before they even arrive. For an example, a guest calls the hotel and wants to make reservation, and the phone rings for 5 times and nobody picks. That has already sent a message to the guest. That if these people do not even pick up their call, that means I might be checking into the wrong place. So the guest experience is already bad before the guest arrives, because the guest already has an impression of the kind of facility, of the kind of system you guys are running. Or somebody picks up the call and do not know how to properly walk the guest through the call process. Because most times, just that process of picking the calls tells the guest the kind of system you guys are running. So do you even pay attention to how your people pick up the phone when it's an external call? are some things you have to pay attention to because it forms the guest experience. Most of us as departmental managers, operation managers, you've not bothered to even do mystery check one day to say, how do these people pick up calls? How do these people handle, check-ins or reservations over the phone? Is it something that somebody will want to go further with the transaction, or somebody will cancel the whole thing after the first, experience? And I'll share an example so you guys understand. Sometime 2 years ago, somebody wanted me to give her names of facilities in a particular environment that she can make reservations. And I gave her like 5-6 brands. She called almost all of them, and she called me back and said she's going for one place, although they are small. That the receptionist was nice. She knew how to pick the call. She sounded like an MTN call agent. And she promised to call back in 3 minutes to give her feedback. And in 3 minutes, she called back. And she told me that, yes, even though other places were bigger, better facilities, that act alone showed that she was in the right hands. That's a guest experience from just phone call alone. So most times we miss it because we don't know that the little things in service actually make the best impression or most impressions on the customers. So let me wrap this before I move to the next point. Guest experience is the total sum of all the touch points we've talked about. Before guests arrive, during their stay, when they actually depart, what are the things they remember? And these are the things you must know that affect all this guest experience. It includes emotions. It includes their sensory impressions about your food, about your drinks. It includes their service interaction. Do your staff know how to communicate with customers? Do your staff have proper product knowledge? Can your staff, convince a guest through upselling? These are all the things that matters. How is your environment? These are all the things that forms a guest impression. So as a manager, as a would-be manager, supervisor, you must understand that when we talk about service, it's not about just the food alone that you sell. It's not about the rooms alone that you sell. The human interaction, the interaction over the phone, the promptness of your people, all these things form guest impression. So it's a complete holistic circle when we talk about guest impression. So let's move, guys. Let's jump into guest experience engineering. Now, when we talk about engineering, we all know what engineering. Engineers design, engineers build, engineers curate. So when we talk about guest experience engineering, we are talking about, the deliberate design, planning, and structuring of service. Now, like I said, this training is about helping you to be able to plan, structure, and engineer the kind of service you want to see, because somebody needs to do it. That's where the intentionality comes in. So guest experience engineering refers to the deliberate design, the planning, and the structuring of services, processes, environment. Now, you see, the environment keeps repeating itself. So what it means is that your environment ultimately has an impression on your guest. How does your corridor smell? How neat is your corridor? What's the impression the guest has when he walks into your front desk? How does your environment around the hotel look like? Your signage on the road, is it kept away from bushes, or bushes has grown around the space? All these things gives customers impressions that we are not there to explain why those things were not done the proper way. So it says here, guest experience engineering refers to the deliberate design, planning. So there's a design, you need to design it, you need to plan it, you need to structure it. So how you structure your services, your processes, your environment, and most importantly, your staff behaviors to create a predictable, positive, and memorable guest journey. So all these things boils down to the fact that you must have something that guides people on how to deliver service. Every service in your organization, down to how you even handle refund process. If you run a hotel, down to how you handle refund should be curated. If somebody has checked in, has stayed in the hotel, and the person wants to check out, how soon and how fast can refund be processed? What are the steps? These are all the things that create impressions in the minds of the guest. Now, so it says that it is where hospitality becomes science, not guesswork. So take note of that. Guest experience engineering is simply where hospitality leaves just guesswork and becomes science, because this is where you have to become intentional. This is where you have to design, sit down and plan your service. This is where you have to structure. This is where you have to look at the human beings that are going to render this service. How do you want them to render this service? So guest experience or guest experience engineering at this point becomes not guesswork, but becomes science, because you need to jig these things and see how it's going. In fact, you need to jig it and look at how the outcome. So guest experience engineering is one of the things you must learn to do in the course of this training. I'll move, guys. I told you today will be very interesting. Now, this is the difference between service and service excellence. Now, when we talk about service, we're talking about regular service. Now, the reason why we say service is because it's bare, there's nothing added. So these are the difference between regular service and service excellence. So you understand. Now, number one says regular service meets basic expectations, while service excellence or excellent service exceeds expectations consistently. So one of the things you must learn to do is ensure that you draft a service process that, irrespective of who is on duty, every of your staff understand that this is the process. No matter how tired you are, no matter how busy you are, this is the process, because oftentimes it is that process that makes a repeated guest. That's what the guests enjoyed the last time, and that's what they bring somebody else to come and enjoy. And they just walk into your brand, somebody else, the person on duty is not doing it because you've not made it a law, you've not made it a standard that, irrespective of the customer that is here, when we say you serve wine with granite, you must serve them with granite. When we say you go through the whole wine service process, you must go through it, irrespective of how hurried the guest hurried you. So you must set that standard. So this is where regular service differs from service excellence. Now, number two, regular service is functional. That's where you hear people say, I did my job. While excellent service is emotional, I made them feel valued. For every 10 naira that the customer spends in your facility, they must feel like they spent 1 million, because you value them and understand the place of ego in everybody. And you understand that once you make them feel valued for spending 5,000, next time they come, they'll spend 100,000. So service excellence is when your staff know how to be emotional about service. When I say emotional, they know how to tickle people's fancy, because they understand that when you render quality service, it makes customers feel valued. Number three, regular service is inconsistently delivered. Now, this one depends on the mood of your staff. It depends on if the staff is happy, or the staff that have eaten today or they've not eaten today. While service excellence is system-driven, culture-driven, and is predictable. So what that means is that guests already know that when you go to their hotel, when you walk in, the receptionist stand, they smile. Even when they saw you in the morning and you're coming back from work, they still stand and greet and ask you, how was your day, sir? So the difference between these two is that one is system-driven, so it doesn't care who is on duty. They've already set a system that once you're on duty, you know this is how to go. There's a culture that everybody follows, and it's very predictable. While the other one, which is regular service, dependent on mood, dependent on who is on duty. Regular service focuses on tasks, while service excellence focuses on outcomes and guest feelings. While you set tasks for people, you must also make them understand that yes, the task is supposed to achieve an end result, and the end result is that customers are made to feel good about having chosen to use their facility. Regular service is average and is forgettable, while service excellence is memorable, it's unique, and it's brand enhancing. People don't forget where service was good. When your service is unique, people would stay with your brand and speak good about your brand. And lastly, excellent service is brand enhancing. At that point, you notice that after a while, you don't need to do a lot of marketing anymore. Guests will talk on your behalf. Guests will speak for your brand because they felt it, they've enjoyed it, and they will be your ambassadors. So the fastest and best way to market your brand and stand out is when you've been able to offer service excellence. Lastly, regular service solves problems after they occur. That's where you teach your staff too much about how to handle complaints, because your service would always end in chaos and complaints. While service excellence prevents problems, so you sit down and look at the things that would probably make someone complain, and you solve them before it arises. So what we are saying here is that service excellence prevents problem through proactive system. Thomas said it the other day while we was training. Proactive system is when you sit down with your team and say, what could make a customer complain in the room? What could make a customer complain in the restaurant? What could make a customer that is using the swimming pool complain? So you sit down and analyze all the problems, and you now start looking at ways to solve it before it even arises. You put things in place. You do your room checks. You ensure that you do your mise en place in service. So you ensure that if it's a room, if it's housekeeping department, you ensure that you have people that check your rooms every night. So you can set up a system that checks your room every night. You're not going to check if somebody has slept or not. You're going to check for issues before they arrive. You walk into a room, switch on the ACs, switch on the TVs, turn the door handle, check the bed, do everything in the room, just to be sure that you observe everything. What you're doing is being proactive, looking for the problem before it arises. And that's where checklist comes into place. Let me move, guys. Key point. Service is what you do. Service excellence is how you make them feel good. There's a difference here. So please take note. Service is simply what you do. Service excellence is how you make them feel good. So understand that most of our brands, what we've been doing is just doing the regular things. We've not added any extra just to ensure that our customers feel good about the kind of service we're rendering. So after this training, you're supposed to make your customers feel good for every service or every of your product they've decided to patronize. What makes service excellence unique? Number one, consistency. Same standard across all staff and all units. This is what makes service excellence unique. Consistency. So what it means is that, see, if you implement whatever was said today, you don't follow it up tomorrow, you are just rendering service. There's no excellence in the service. Now, for excellence to attach to that service, it means there must be consistency across board. Everybody must know what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. Number two, there must be speed blended with accuracy. That's efficiency and effectiveness. Now, there are people that are very efficient, but they are not effective. What that means is that you might have staff that are very good in communication, but they don't have good product knowledge. So they look good, they speak well, but when it's time to engage the customers on the product itself, they don't know what they are saying. They don't have an idea. So what this means is that you must understand that for every staff that is allocated to a particular unit, you must teach them product knowledge as it pertains to that department. You have porters. You don't know the numbers of your room. You don't know the sizes of the room. You don't know where each room faces. You don't know the bed pattern. You don't know every facility in the rooms. You don't know everything about the facility. So you must teach them to have both accuracy and, speed at the same time. Because you can have speed, but when you're not accurate, it's simply wasted. In fact, you just wasted the speed. For an example, a customer walks into your space or your restaurant, and your staff rush to them, welcome sir, walk them to a seat, draw the seat for them to sit. And just after the customer has felt good, the customer asks your staff, what type of food do you have? And they say, please sir, wait, let me go to the kitchen. It has defeated, that particular action alone has defeated all the speed that the staff wasted in getting the customer to a seat. But if that was blended with good knowledge of the menu and what is available and what is not available, that gets worked out of that place very okay with the kind of service. Number three, personalization. Remembering preferences, using customers' name if you know them, anticipating customers' need. You must teach your staff. As a manager, you must do this so that they learn. Know how to prioritize and personalize each guest. So it means you must know each guest for their name, for their preferences. You must know the kind of rooms they like, the kind of wines they like, because this is what takes people to your brand. When they know that this brand knows my preference, they know what I don't like, they know what I like. So it means that your staff must take interest in every guest. Your staff must pay attention to every guest. Number four, proactive problem prevention. Identifying issues before they affect the guest. I've already talked about that before I jump into this other slide, so I will not dwell there. Number five, emotional maturity. How matured are you as a manager, as a departmental head first? Do you know the place of empathy? Do you know the place of patience in your service? Are you calm and you understand the place of positive communication? You see, most times there's something you must understand. Most times, even when you know that that staff is lying to you, You can use the power of positive communication to make them come out straight and tell you this is not what it is, this is what it is. But first of all, you must teach your staff to have empathy. You must teach them how to be patient. Most of them don't know how to be patient, especially when maybe that guest is not the guest that gives them tips. So you must teach them empathy, patience, calmness, and positive communication. And this positive communication is not only to the guest alone, it's across board. Staff to staff, manager to staff. What are the things you say to them? What are the kind of communications you encourage in the space? It's very important. Number 6, ownership mindset. This is what a lot of us don't do. Every team member behaves like a stakeholder in the brand. You know, most of us have, we encourage when staff complain. Staff is complaining that his salary is not much and you join in the complaint, or you encourage the complaint. You must have this ownership mindset that people will start asking, is it that his salary is bigger than my own? So you must, when you own a product, when you own something, you will not wait and see that thing go bad. You always look forward to how to improve the product, how to make people not walk away with anger, because you own the brand. You know that if this was your business, you would not want this to happen to you. So there must be that ownership mindset. Sold to yourself first, because when you sell it to yourself first, it's easy to sell it to your staff and people that are following you. Number 7, as part of what makes service excellence unique, high professionalism. It starts with grooming. It starts with your tone of voice, confidence, and courtesy. The grooming starts with you as a head, as a supervisor. How do you look? Do you run a bar? And every time you walk out of the bar, you're wearing a short knicker. You are selling something to them that you don't know. You're selling low professionalism to them in form of grooming, because you don't look the way you are advising them to look. Tone of voice. How do your staff talk to each other? How do you talk to them? Have you taught them to understand that tone of voice affects both yourselves as staff, affects the guests too? Have you built confidence in them? Are you the type that when your staff make mistakes, you correct them in the public or you shout on them? You will kill their confidence. So you must understand that for you to be able to offer excellent service, you must build confidence in your staff. And lastly, you must teach them courtesy, and you too must have courtesy. There's a popular saying that respect is reciprocal. So you must teach your staff to respect each other. You must teach them to have courtesy, and you must show that you have courtesy for them too. So let's jump into how to engineer a guest experience. Now, I wrote here, guest experience engineering means that the experience is not left to chance. Now, so when you sit down and say, I want this thing to work, and this is what I want to do, it means you've taken upon you. That's intentionality. You've not left it to chance and said, maybe because Atom is on duty today, she might do well. No. That's not how it works. You must engineer how you want that thing to happen. So this means is that you must design it, you must train it, you must test it, you must measure it and improve it. Now, so this is how you must, this is how you engineer a guest experience. Number 1, for every service you want to see, you must design it. After designing it, you don't just dump it on them. You must train it. Then you must test it. Then you improve on it. Now, for example, let me give you guys a practical idea. So you know what I'm talking about. If your restaurant does not do the hot towel or warm towel service, and eventually you just introduce it to your restaurant, that every guest that wants to eat either swallow or finger food, they must give them warm towel to clean their hands. Now, on the day you implement it, sit back and watch how guests will actually react to it. You definitely see the wow feeling. You see that wow reaction in guests because they've not experienced it before. So what it means is that when you engineer an experience, you must train it. So it means that for that particular experience, you must train your staff, put them in a space, show them how to do it, let them do it on their own. Then you now test it on 1 or 2 people. You can test it on your chairman, test it on their friends, just to see their reaction. Then measure the level of guest satisfaction between when these things were not done and when it is now done. How do the customers react to it? Victor can attest to it. When we introduced warm towel service, one of the brands we did stops with, people will tell you that they came for that warm towel service because it's a beautiful thing. They love it. And once you do this, keep improving on it. Add spice to it. Ensure that you don't stop there. Keep looking for ways to better that service that you started. So let's look at the complete process. So you look at what we are talking about. Now, so it says here below is the complete process. Understanding the guest journey. Break down the guest interaction with your brand into stages. So this is example of a pre-arrival. Now, number one says pre-arrival. Website. Is your website functional? Is your website such that when customers go, they can see good pictures that, is very realistic, that, that's actually the state of your room? Most of you, your hotel phone numbers do not connect. So they are just there on the internet. They will never ring for one. So do you have, a functional phone number that when people call, within 1-2 rings, people can pick up? Because trust me, this particular experience, if your website takes time to load, if conversion does not happen in 30 seconds, if this website cannot lead a guest or cannot open in 30 seconds, you've already started creating a doubt in the guest's mind. And the guest goes to your website, the pictures are not enticing, or the pictures are not looking like what the guest wants to see, and the guest even tries to call the phone number, he's drinking what nobody is speaking. You've already started making a bad impression in the minds of the guest. So first, for those of you that are working in operations, front office managers of facility, is your website functional? Is it something that when a guest jump on, he can tell the true state of your hotel? Do you have phone numbers linked to the website or on your internet space that are very functional, and somebody can call and somebody picks up within 2-3 rings and speaks the language of hospitality? How is your booking system? Do a guest have to go through very cumbersome process to be able to book your space? Now, the inquiry process, how fast, prompt does your inquiry take, and how soon do you get back to customers in case somebody says, send me a pro forma, send me this, send me the pictures of your room? How fast do your front desk staff attend to this? All these things helps to form the guest journey or the guest experience. Number 2, arrival. So this whole journey now is about the front office. How do you manage the complete guest process that will ensure that, when they leave the space, they have memorable experience? So this is everything that comes into the engineering process. When they arrive, what is the first impression they get? Do your staff wait for customers to walk up to them before they sluggishly stand up? How do your porters react to customers that are just walking into the facility? How is the impression generally? How is your welcome process? How fast, how soon, and how prompt do your people check in customers? If your check-in happens, or if your check-in is to take more than 5 minutes, we know it happens. Your staff should be able to apologize politely to your guests, because we definitely know that there are incidences that will make check-in to happen maybe more than 5 minutes to 10 minutes. Do you have people that are polite enough to tell customers and apologize to them that they are sorry that the check-in process is taking more than the allocated time? Now let's talk about their stay and engagement. How is their room experience? When the customer gets to the room and the room is open for them, what's their first impression of the room? Does the room smell nice? Do they have to look for amenities in the room? Do your porters have the courtesy to show the customers how to make use of all the amenities in the room? How is your F&B service? If your customers call your F&B, how prompt, how quick, and how efficient they are, how knowledgeable they are? Because it's always very, very terrible that the customer checks into a room and calls the bar, the bar or the restaurant, and says, "What do you have?" And they're asking the customer, "What do you want to have, sir?" That already kills the whole type of service that maybe the front office would have tried to do. How is your housekeeping activities? Do you have an housekeeping activities that understands that once they step out of a room and the customer is checked into a room, that everything they have done speaks for or against the hotel? What are the activities in the hotel that keeps the customer engaged and satisfied or happy? Number 4, problem solving. How is the noise? Do you have a sound system that blasts through the corridor at night and customers cannot sleep? Do you have a club? Do you have a bar around the hotel and you don't mind communicating to the, or do you have a bar that has noise around the hotel? And when you're checking in customers, you don't have the courtesy to tell them, "Sir, the room we want to check you to is facing the bar and there'll be noise later at the night. Do you mind, or should we check you to another room?" What's the level of confusion between your staff when eventually there's an issue and the customer wants it sorted? Does he or she run into managers, supervisors, and staff that don't know what to do because somebody has not told them how to handle particular situations? How is the communication process? Do you have a poor communication process within the hotel? Number 5, departure. How is your farewell system? Do you have a well-curated system that ensures that guest checkout is properly curated. From ensuring that when you know that the guest is checking out on so day, you follow up with them about their billing, you follow up with them about their payment before they get to the front desk. It is always very annoying for some brands that you know somebody booked for 2 nights, and a night to the day the person was checking out, you don't start tidying up the person's deal. You don't start sorting the folios, that the person will just come down in the morning and you would have sorted everything. And when you know a guest is checking out on a so day, have you taught your front desk to be able to follow up and ask them, sir, are you checking out today? Can I send a porter? Can I close your bill? What should I do to ensure that your checkout is seamless? Do you have a system that checks that? Is your bill accurate? For those of you that are in operations, that are in front desk, do you ensure that whatever billing has been done, the guest properly signed it and stamped the signature that this is, I consume this? Does your system offer transportation support for customers that want to do quick movement to and fro the airport around town? How is your goodbye process? It's supposed to be one of the most beautiful process. The checkout process, getting feedback, hearing from the guests, he or she will come back again, bidding them wonderful farewell and telling them you wish to see them again. Have you curated these processes? Now let's talk about post-stay, because this is what some of us don't do. After a customer would have left your facility, do you have a system that drops a message for them after a while and say, thank you for having patronized us? I hope you enjoy the services and we look forward to your feedback. Do you seek for feedback? Do you follow up on guests to know how he or she would have loved to be served, or next time they eventually come? Do your system have a loyalty loop that customers can enjoy when next time they come? So when somebody checks out and you can tell them, oh sir, when you come next time, if you stay for 4 nights, you can have 1 night or you can have a free meal. Do you have that kind of loyalty loop that can help, return a customer to the hotel? Now, I wrote here, engineering starts with mapping each point. Each point that I've just talked about here, this for the guest journey that relates to front desk. This engineering starts with mapping each point and ensuring that each point is broken down into simple steps and achievable processes. Now, number B, identify pain points. So what are we talking about? This is a process, that would help you engineer good guest experience. B, identify pain points. That's the gaps. What are the gaps that affect your service delivery? Number 1, ask where do guests complain, or why do guests complain? Where do they complain? Where in your facility has the highest numbers of complaints? Where is their confusion? Where is their confusion? So is there confusion in the communication of that service? Is there confusion because you have staff that cannot communicate? Is there confusion because they've not been given the powers to solve the problem? This is how to identify pain points. What slows down staff? What are the things that hinders your staff from being able to, render quality service? Is it training? Is it lack of empowerment? Is it lack of the equipment to work? Is it low staff, maybe you don't have enough staff in that particular unit? What is making, your staff to slow down? Then the next one, what creates that negative emotion? Because definitely in every service that has gone wrong, emotion is always involved. What is that thing that creates that negative emotions in your staff? What is that thing that creates that negative emotions in your guest? So you need to sit down and identify all these gaps if you are going to be able to create or engineer service excellence. Example, let's look at rush check-in. Now, when there's a guest that, that maybe guests are waiting to be checked in into the front desk, and you have 5-10 people waiting to be checked in, and you have maybe 1 receptionist and 1 porter or 2 porters, definitely there's bound to be frustration, there's bound to be anger. So when there's a rush check-in, if it's not handled properly and there's no proper communication between the front office and the guest, first, there's bound to be frustration from the part of the guest. There's bound to be a complaint from the guest. If it's not properly handled, then there's bound to be brand damage, because, yes, he does not know how to handle rush check-in. So you must highlight all these instances and tell yourself and your staff and sit down and say, in a case where we have rush check-ins and we have so people waiting to be checked in, how can we go about mitigating these issues and ensuring that at the end of the day, the level of complaints is not more than 5% or 2%. So you must identify pain point gaps. It's very important. C, create standard operating procedure. I've talked about this. I will not dwell here again. Now, but for the purpose of this training, every touch point must have clear written trainable steps, examples, so that you won't say that we don't give you examples. Standard greeting sentence. Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma. Welcome to hotel, blah, 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 with a smile. So you must write it down, because most of these children we are leading are lodos. So you must have standard greeting sentences that they must make part of them. Second one says checking procedures with timing. So when you tell people checking must happen in 5 minutes, please break down the things they should do to ensure that it happens in 5 minutes. When guest walks in and stands in front of you and you've exchanged pleasantries, what is the next thing you ask? How do you what give the form? Do this, show them rate. So you must line up these processes so that they don't get confused and lost. And in trying to meet up, with the timing, they now make mistake because somebody did not break the steps down for them. Now you must also clearly state the smile rule for guest contact. How they smile, when the smile is supposed to reduce. A lot of these things you must clearly state it out. What are the response protocol for delays? When a guest has been delayed checking in, a guest has been delayed from checking out, guest food has been delayed, service has been delayed. What is the standard operating procedure for handling delays? We talked about welcome procedures for VIP. I will not dwell there. What do you have a room inspection list? I keep saying this for every brand. Be you a manager, be you a departmental head, whatever you are, you must have a checklist. And room checklist is one of the most important checklists in the system. Your room checklist must capture everything in your room. Everything. To painting, to stain in the room, to fridge, to TV, to remote, to battery in the remote, everything, to curtains if they are dirty. Your checklist must carry it. And lastly, we say here, when SOPs are clear, guest experience becomes predictable. I'll take that again. When SOPs are clear, guest experience becomes very predictable. D, design emotional touch point. What are those things that you would do that would touch the guest emotionally? Now, I said here, guest remembers how you made them feel, not what you gave them. Guest remember how you made them feel, not what you gave them. You gave them a beer. They might not remember the type of beer you gave them, but remember the action you gave them while giving them the beer. Now, so engineering emotional connection includes, number one, calling guests by names. In Nigeria, we say call them by title. Good morning, Mr. Mike. Good morning, Dr. This. Good morning, Honorable This. Offering assistance before they ask. Sir, what can I do for you? Sir, do you need another bottle of drinks? Sir, I'm just following up with your room. Is there something you'd like us to do? What time would you like us to clean your room? Now, so offering assistance before they act is a way of emotionally torturing them. Then you must learn to observe body language. There are times guests don't want to talk because they don't know if anybody will understand. So you must pay attention. You must teach your staff to know how to pay attention to guests. Now, another one says using warm, polite greetings. So you must curate greetings for your staff in the restaurant, in the bar, your HR team, your maintenance team that goes to clean a room, your housekeeping team that goes to interface with the guests in the room. You must curate your greetings, how they must politely engage with customers. They pass a customer on the corridor. What should they say to the customer? You must create this thing. Then the next one says you must learn and teach your staff how to show empathy proactively before the customers even, ask for empathy. The customers will not ask, but you must learn to show empathy proactively. That's before the customer even, goes further to ask for empathy or feel that nobody's showing them empathy. Next one says celebrating special occasions for customers, be it birthdays, anniversary. Now, I said here, small emotional touches create long-term loyalty. See, as that small emotional touches. Is this small birthday cake that you do for a guest that has been patronizing you guys? You do for a guest, send it to the guest office or guest house, or send it to the house of the guest. Trust me, most times, even if that guest don't want to bring that birthday party to your hotel, you'll bring it to your hotel because that small emotional touches has created something in them or has gingered something in them that you wouldn't have been able to Ginger, if you did not tickle their fancy by doing something that touches them. E, train your staff on attitude, communication, and professionalism. Very important. Experience engineering is wordless if staff attitude is poor. I'll repeat that again. See, all this is we are talking about. It will become very useless and wordless if your staff attitude is poor. So what we are saying here is, in order for you to achieve excellence in service, you must train your staff, number one, on attitude, number two, on how to communicate, and number three, on how to behave and act like professional. Because if you don't do these things, everything we just talked about here will be useless. Now, your training must cover. So these are the things you must do. When you want to set aside, training for these people, number one, your training must cover courtesy that language. Your training must cover tone of voice. Your training must cover the eye contact. Your training must cover patience during peak hours. Because this is most times where your staff fumbles a lot. When they are under pressure, it's peak hours. That's when they tend not to be patient. They don't know how to attend to customers. They misbehave. They talk to customers anyhow. So you must teach them patience during peak hours. You must teach them in body language and importance of body language. Teach them handling stress, professional posture, appearance, and grooming. Now, I also said a guest might forgive a delay, but never rudeness or disrespect. And most times the disrespect might not be that your staff directly confronted the guest. It might just be that your staff did not know that her tone of voice was bad. The body language that your staff gave was rude, but they never knew. So a guest might forgive delay, but you see, they would hardly forgive rudeness or disrespect. F, implement quality assurance system. We are going to take a class on this quality assurance next week. Now, quality assurance I've talked about is one of the most important things or documents you need. Now, it says here to ensure standards are maintained. Now, there are things you must implement. Mystery guest audit, daily checklist. So for you to be able to maintain or implement quality assurance system, see, you must once in a while do mystery guest. Send people to check your hotel, ask people to call your front desk, ask people to order for food and give you. You must test all your system just to ensure that you're not seeing the system from your own eye and not from the eye of the customer. So you must test your system from the eye of the customers that your staff do not know. That's how to do mystery guest audit. Then daily checklist. I've talked about this. Now we will highlight all the checklists in the course of all this training, so you know the checklist to develop. You must be a walk-around manager. If you are the manager that sits around in your office 24/7, they will sell the facility and you don't know. We talked about service review meetings. Your review meetings, I've said it should not be the type that you call and say, by the grace of God. No, it should be factual. You should go straight to the point. You should deal with issues. You should look at, how to progress from where you guys are. So your weekly meeting should not be where you sit down and discuss irrelevant things. It should go straight to the point to test quality, see how you're performing, see what you can do to improve on the system. That's what your weekly review meeting should look at. Every week, you should look at guest feedback. So there must be, as for every department, you must analyze guest feedback. So you must set a guest feedback mechanism, be it housekeeping, be it front office, be it the bar. You must set a guest feedback mechanism. So what it means is that you must set a system that your staff are taking feedback, make it mandatory, put it as part of their KPIs, that every week I need to see 4 guest reviews from this department. Now that's the best way you know if you're doing well or you're not doing well, or there's something you need to improve on. Then you must have a system that checks staff performance scoring. Then lastly, you must have a complaint pattern analysis. Every week, you must be able to analyze how each complaint of a guest was handled. I teach managers to always document how each complaint was sorted for future references, because most times somebody or the system will need to reference how that particular issue was sorted some time ago. Now, I said here, quality assurance ensures that service is predictable and excellent. I hope we're learning. G, use guest data and preferences. Engineering means personalization. Frequent guest profiles room preferences, food allergies. When your customers tell you, I don't like this, do you pay attention and write it down that these guests do not like this? Pillow choice. There are people that tell you, I don't like hard pillows. I have put it down, put it as part of their profile. Guess Mr. Nwachukwu does not like. So every time your receptionist see guest Nwachukwu, they know that he does not like hard pillow. So even while he's checking in, and you tell him, please, sir, can you give us 5 minutes? We want to change the pillows in your room to your choice. The customer will wait because he knows you know their preference. Beverage preference. Now, remember I was talking about guest data and preference. Now, if you don't take note of these things, it doesn't become data and you cannot reference it. What type of drink does a guest like? Does he like it cold? Does he like it hot? If a guest that likes this drink hot or room temperature comes back tomorrow and your staff that paid attention tell him, sir, are you going for your favorite today? And I guess it's room temperature. That guest will be glued to the brand because people are paying attention. Now, also in use of guest data and preference, you must use it to look at past complaints and satisfaction history. This particular guest that came here, he complained last time. Look at the records. Was this thing sorted? Do whatever it is to ensure that that particular kind of scenario that led to the guest complaint do not happen again. When guests see that you remember them, loyalty increases. I don't know how to, overemphasize that. 8, minimize friction. Friction point at moments that create stress for guests. You know that it's very sad when the guest is paying you for service and the guest is also stressed about the service. It's very annoying and very sad that I'm paying for service and I'm also having to stress myself to complain about the fact that I don't enjoy the service. It is very sad. So you must ensure that you minimize friction in the system for your guests. Friction point at moment that creates stress for the customer, like we said. So let's look at certain things. Examples. Number 1, waiting too long. When a customer waits too long to be checked in, for food to come, for them to maybe a maintenance person was supposed to attend to the customer and the maintenance person is taking forever to come. This thing creates stress for the guest. And it's very bad and very sad that somebody will pay their money and still be stressed on top of their money. There's nobody that will not complain. So waiting too long for service, these are the things that create stress and friction for the guest. Complicated processes. Today the guest comes, or let me just say, today the guest has a female visitor. This staff on duty is telling the guest, you must come down and carry your visitor. Tomorrow the guest has another female visitor. This one is saying your visitor must show ID card before you can come upstairs. When the systems and processes are complicated, it creates a friction. I will not emphasize that. Number 3, poor communication. Manager has left an order that we are doing 20%. Meanwhile, the CEO had given an order that we are doing 30%. When communication is not clear, it creates friction in the system. I'm just using that as an example. There are hundreds other examples that you can use. Unprofessional behavior. Unprofessional behavior stems from the place of no policy, no processes, no standard. Excuse me, guys. Wrong bill. This is one thing that can move a guest from 0 to 100 in seconds. Wrong billing. The next one is dirty environment. There's no guest that wants to pay good amount of money and stay in a dirty environment. Then lastly, when your staff are not paying attention, that's why we say don't allow them to bring phone. Reduce things in your space that will make staff to be distracted. But most importantly, teach them to understand that guest service should be personalized, and that's where attention comes into play. Now it says here, engineering removes friction. Engineering removes every friction point. Now, when you are able to sort all these things, the friction point will be very minimal, if not totally eradicated. But because we are in the service space, it might not be totally eradicated, but we would have reduced it to the barest minimum. I ensure that service recovery is planned. Now, even in the biggest facilities all over the world, there's service failure. So service recovery stems from the place of service failure. So it means service recovery can only happen when there have been a service failure. Now, so before going into complaint solving, service recovery procedures must be ready. every staff member should know, number one, what to say. Number two, what to do. Now, so you must create all the scenarios that the customer can complain about. And you now create possible response for your staff. Because you don't need to assume that they know, and when it eventually happens, they put the company in a mess. So every staff member should know when a guest food is delayed, what should they do? When a guest check-in is delayed, what should they do? A guest is complaining that the AC in the room is not cooling, what should they do? So you must create these scenarios and then create possible solutions and what to say for them, what to escalate, what to compensate. So most times, always annoying when a customer is complaining and they are telling the customer, sir, you have to wait till my manager comes tomorrow. What happens to creating a process that allows your staff to take certain decisions, but let it be documented or communicated to so person so that the guests will walk out of the system understanding that you've set a process that can handle situations on the go without waiting for the manager to resume. Most of us have created systems around us that when we leave and go to the house, the system dies or the system waits and pauses for us to come back to work. If you're that kind of a manager, you're a failure. If you are the kind of manager that when you leave a system or step out of the system, everything waits until you get back, trust me, you're a failure. Then your staff should also know how to follow up. Now, they know what to say, they know what to do, they know what to escalate, they know what to compensate, they know what to follow up. This ensures that guests feel respected and valued when issues eventually occur. I'll take questions before I continue because I think this has few slides. Let me take questions. Any question, guys? Because I know I've run for a while. Let me minimize and come back. Do we have questions?
None from my end. You are
Do you have
perfectly
questions,
on
guys?
No, sir.
Are you guys still here? I'm talking to myself.
I'm
I
still
can
here,
continue.
sir.
I said none from my end. You are perfectly on course.
Somebody should unmute and talk. I'm not hearing you guys. Thomas, are you here? Can I continue?
Please continue, sir. We can hear you very well. You are on course.
I think
Okay, so let me
I asked the
continue,
question.
guys.
I asked the
All right.
question, sir. I had asked what the one-to-one service meant is like.
So please drop. You can drop all your questions on the group on the chat. When I'm done, I'll read them out. Okay. So let me just take this. Then when I'm done, I'll actually look at all the questions that are on the group. All right. So let's talk about complaint handling and guest recovery. Full breakdown definition. Now, complaint handling is the structured process of receiving, evaluating, responding to, and resolving guest dissatisfaction in a way that restores confidence, retains loyalty, and protects the brand. Complaint handling is a structured process. So you see, this is where people miss it. So what this means that the people that invented the standard operating procedures in the hospitality sector understood that, you see, even complaint handling needs to be structured. So it means that your staff, yourself, and the entire management team must know that for handling guest complaint, it has to be done in a structured way. So that's why we said here, complaint handling is the structured process of receiving, evaluating, responding to, and resolving guest dissatisfaction in a way that restores confidence. Now, so what this means is that every time customers complain about something or complain about service that has gone bad, it's actually an opportunity for us to, engage them and restore confidence in them, retain loyalty, and protect the brand. Because if this customer steps out with this complaint, it will definitely be bad for the brand. So it says here, service recovery is the intentional act of converting a negative situation into a positive guest experience through empathy, urgency, transparency, and compensation where necessary. So let me say this. It is not every time a guest complains that they need compensation. There are often times that when customers complain, it's because they just need someone to be able to give that issue some sort of urgency. There are most times the customer just need a level of empathy just to know that the brand is concerned about that level of service that was not delivered to them. Now, it is in very rare cases that most customers will need some level of compensation where necessary. So it means for your brand, you must clearly understand that there are some service failures that needs to be compensated for. So you must highlight those service failures. For an example, if you check customer into maybe a room of 40,000 and the hotel is full, the only room that is left is 100,000, and that room of 40,000 has an AC issue that cannot be solved that day, you must understand that it is your responsibility to move that customer to that room of 100,000 without asking them for another dime, because you failed in your contract to give them a room that is working at that price that they paid for. So you owe them that responsibility of compensating them with a better room for the price of the other room that they stayed. So, but in most cases, most customers just need someone to be able to explain to them that, yes, we know this is a problem, but give us a little time to solve it. So service recovery is that intentional act of converting, because say it's recovery. Recovery means we've gotten back. Recovery means that, yes, we know we have failed in this service, but these are the steps we've taken to ensure that we correct this now, and eventually when you come back to the brand, it stays corrected. That's service recovery. I'll move. Now, so let's quickly jump into looking at categories of complaints. Inefficiency, loss of trust. Now, so understand that service delay can cause a lot of issues when it comes to guest complaint. Now, you must, as a manager, as a department head, one of the things you must do is sit down and look at all the things that can make your service delayed. That's number one thing. Yes, we are talking about complaints now. In order to reduce this complaint, you must look at all the things that aid and abet these service failures. When you solve that, it will first of all reduce the numbers of complaints that will definitely happen. Number two, the reason why customers complain: attitude and behavior complaints. These are complaints about staff tone, body language, disrespect, or unprofessional conduct. This is where a customer has issues with your service just because the people, the mechanism in which this service is delivered, which are the humans, don't know how to communicate to the customers. They don't know that their body language matters. They are disrespectful, and most times they don't know how to talk to customers. So this is another area that, you know, makes customers to complain. And why it matters: guests might forgive a mistake, but rarely forgive disrespect. I've said that before. So this is where you must also emphasize your training on staff attitude and behavior, because this can make a guest to walk away from the facility and they will never come back again. C, facility and technical complaints. This one most times is not in your powers. These arise from physical or mechanical issues. Example, AC is not cooling. I've talked about that. Poor water pressure in the room. Most of your facilities, water pressure is very poor. Key card malfunction. It happens to some of our brands a lot. Now, what this does, or the impact this creates, is that, you know, guest questions value for money and property maintenance standards. So this is where the guests start asking, if you don't do your routine check to check your ACs, if you don't do routine servicing, if you don't check your water level each day to ensure that, you know, the water level that goes into a room is good enough for the customers to use. Now, your card malfunction, do you service your engine regularly? Do you change the battery? So guests would now question all this. And I can bet you, gentlemen and ladies, most of these things can be reduced if you schedule routine maintenance for your AC. You check your water pressure, you ensure that the batteries in your doors are changed maybe quarterly. If it's Duracell battery, maybe it's changed once in 2 months. It will reduce your technical complaints drastically. D, cleanliness and housekeeping complaints. Example, stained linens, dusty rooms, foul odor, unclean bedrooms. Now, so most of us work in a system where we don't have linen policies. Now, every system, no matter how small it is, should have a linen policy. Your linen policy should be that in 6 months, you should start facing out some of the linens that have started getting torn, the ones that have started changing colors. Then you must set a policy in your system. If the linen is torn, they should not use. If the linen is stained, they should not use. If it looks like something has started touching, they should not use. You should set a standard both for your laundry and for your housekeeping to avoid this guest complaint. Because most guests, immediately they see that stain on a linen, there's nothing you will tell them that would change their mindset that that room was not used for short time. Dusty room, this cast a doubt on housekeeping. I visited a hotel recently, and when I entered, the bathroom glass had stains of somebody that had stains of soap. So what it means that the housekeeping supervisor is not paying attention. So that made me doubt the cleanliness of the toilet. It made me doubt the cleanliness of the bedding from just one singular thing that was not done. They now talk about files order. Now, you cannot be a supervisor, you cannot be a manager, and you notice another in a room, you just say, just split it and close the room. If you've not gotten to the source of the problem, that problem will definitely persist. So when the room has a files order, trace the source of it before you ask them to flip the room. If not, you keep recycling the problem and you lead to guest complaints. What is the impact that this does? Direct attack on the hotel hygiene standard, which is highly sensitive. Billing and financial complaints, errors in billing, double charges, wrong rate, VAT confusion. This is very self-explanatory. What this does, it creates distrust. I will not trust a system that gives me a bill that is not mine. It brings integrity problem, and you will explain this transparency thing, and you will not be able to, explain it to the extent that will satisfy the guest because you did not check. So this is why it's proper that before somebody checks out, before a billing system, before bills are given to customers, there must be check processes that ensure that the brand does not sell its name low. Let's finalize with talking about the anatomy of complaint. Every complaint contains emotions, anger, disappointment, and frustration. That's number one. Every complaint. See, before somebody opens their mouth and talk, that thing has touched the person. So that means it has become emotional. So when the customer complains, it means first, emotions have been touched. Now, it is when emotions have been touched that it leads to anger. Anger leads to disappointment and frustration. So every complaint contains these things that I just talked about. So that's why when you're about to handle guest complaint, understand that emotions are now affected. So meaning that the guest will be angry, the guest will be disappointed, and the guest will be frustrated. So when you're dealing with somebody that is frustrated, it's different from when you're dealing with somebody that just walked into the brand and has not experienced your service before. Number two, what is the issue? Every complaint contains the issue, which is the real problem. Most times, yes, it might not be true, but in the course of the complaint, the issue, there's no complaint that doesn't have the real issue. Number three, expectation. When a guest complains, it means that that guest actually wants something done. If not, the guest will walk away without complaining. So every complaint has expectation, what the guest hope to receive. It might be immediate action. It might be the guest needs someone to assure them that that thing is not a recurring thing. It might need someone to tell them that that thing does not happen often. It might need that issue to be solved. It might need compensation. So every complaint actually has an expectation. Number four, every complaint contains risks and loss of business, negative reviews. If properly managed, it will not lead to negative reviews. It might not even lead to loss of business if properly managed. So for every complaint, there's a risk of loss of business. There's a risk that the customer will take the review to the media space and it will further dent the image of the brand. So for every time a customer complains, there's a risk of loss in business, a risk of negative reviews. Number five, for every complaint, there's an opportunity. So this is what I wanted to see. When somebody complains about service, it's an opportunity to recover, improve the service, promise them that that thing will not happen again, and make that customer a loyal customer because of how you handle the issue. Now, so there's something you must learn to do as a leader in your brand. I said a leader must learn to separate emotions from issues. Anytime you're about to handle an issue, you must learn to take out your people that just came on now are still requesting to join when the class is almost done. This is why people should not be coming late to classes. Okay. Okay, I think they're already in. So let me start wrapping. All right. So when you come late to class, there will definitely be this issue of being let in or not being let in. All right. So let me finish, guys. Now, so as a leader, you must learn to separate emotions from issues. Now, there are times that while guests are complaining, they'll be very rude. They will insult people. They will insult you, insult your life, ask you where you got trained. Understand that the guest is reacting to the fact that they are angry, they are disappointed, and they are frustrated. Most of you, when you are angry, you can even do worse than the guest. So because you are hospitality persons and professionals, you must learn to take out first your own emotions. Because most times while you're trying to talk, the customer is telling you shut up your mouth. Most times you don't know how to control it again. So you must learn to separate your emotions from issues. So let's look at the model of service that we choose for footprint hospitality. We call it the LISA model of service recovery, which is very detailed. Number one, we said here, listen actively. Number two, stop whatever you were doing. Somebody cannot be complaining, so you teach your staff this. Somebody cannot be complaining and they are still busy. Pause whatever you're doing at that particular point in time. All of us know this, but we are just re-emphasizing. Maintain eye contact through the period of the guest giving you the feedback or the complaint. Do not interrupt. It gets them more angry. Not to show that you're paying attention. Take note if necessary. Most times you carry pen and paper and be writing, even when you're writing nonsense. It shows the guest that you actually want, to solve that problem. Why this matters? It reduces emotional heat. Why all this matters is that it reduces emotional heat. When you do all these things, it helps these are the first steps towards solving the problem, because at this point, the guest actually sees that somebody is making effort to try to solve them. Conclusion. Before complaint handling, the foundation must be, number one, service mastery. So before you even handle complaints, there must be a foundation. And the foundation is that, first of all, we would reduce the level of how we handle complaint if we understand the place of service mastery. Number two, if we understand how guest experience engineering skills work, and we start to hone them, like we have said or we've shared. Now, I said here, complaint solving becomes easier when the experience is already well designed. So when you've already designed the complaint handling processes for your staff, it's like plug and play. So yes, complaint has happened, but you see, it becomes easier when you've already designed the process of handling it. So what I said here is complaint solving becomes easier when the experience is already well designed, consistent, and emotionally supportive. So what it means is that, you see, you don't need to have a solution that makes the guest look like you are pushing them away. There are some facilities that staff will tell you, sir, sorry, there's nothing we can do, because the system was designed to push people away. So before you even teach them customer complaint or service complaint, teach them, how to master service excellence. Teach them the experience, the skills to engineer quality guest service. It will help you to reduce, the level of complaints in the hospitality sector. All right, so I'd like to pause here and let's take questions. All right, guys. So you can unmute. Let's look at the questions together. Okay, so I'm back. So do we have questions on the group? Please ask your question. Okay. Someone is asking, what's the one towel service, sir? Okay. Please, did I mention one tower service or it came from another place? Let me know.
Yes, you did, sir.
I think it's warm and cold.
Warm, okay, not warm towel. I think so. I think it was warm towel.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it's warm towel service, not one towel. Because even me, I had to almost run back to my slide and say, did I mention one towel? I did not know about it. Okay.
Thank you very much.
So is there somewhere we didn't get clarity so we can use this remaining period to sort it out? Where did you not get clarity and where do you want us to just emphasize on all contributions? Let me know if you really understand what we just did now. So please, I need to know.
All right, so thank you very much. Let me quickly make a note. I think this actually has addressed some challenge. I think I spoke with you about during the last class, talking about the recovery. How do you call it? Recovery. Guest recovery. Now, a guest walks in and then talks about and is unhappy, about the fact that he couldn't get back, like I said the other time, he couldn't get back his funds, for checking in for 3 nights and then for 4 nights and then, and the guest stayed for 2 nights eventually, and then wanted a system where he can get back his money. And then you talk about a delay in guest refunds and all of that. So I'd like you to shed some more light on that, sir.
Okay, so I think I will go back to Thomas's class and I'll come back to mine. So first of all, there has to be a clearly stated policy about refunds. Now, if you run a system where you do discount a particular level and say we cannot go below this particular discount level, and somebody walks into the system and says, I will stay for 1 week and get a particular discount and pays for 2 nights or pays for 4 nights, and after maybe 2 nights, the person wants to check out, because there was a clearly stated policy, because there was a clearly stated policy, it helps you to know how to manage that issue, because from the point where the guest is trying to pay, you have to explain that policy to them, that if you decide at any point in time to check out and you got this discount because you wanted to stay for 7 nights and you're staying for 4 nights, that maybe it's not refundable, or you have to come back another time, or so it has to be clearly stated. Now, the problem, like I said, we normally have is when you don't state this thing from the word go, it's not clearly stated in black and white, even if it's not stated in black and white. At the point of checking, if your staff do not know how to communicate these things to the guest, it's now becomes a problem. Enforcement now becomes a problem. So when the guest is now asking you for refund, because you did not inform them of these things at the point of checking, you have to refund the money. So that's why it's very important that these things are clearly stated. In fact, most times it's the how will I put it? It's the incident that makes you, okay, maybe a guest wants to check in and you did not even have the policy, but you know that if you go ahead with this business and it goes south, you can quickly come up with something, communicate it to your front desk and let them know that, okay, for this particular kind of service, because I keep saying it, not every service has SOPs. Most times it's instances and incidents that bring up SOPs. So you just use that period to say, okay, for this particular situation, this is how we are going to handle it. So, Mr. Kufe, if you guys did not properly communicate the refund process to the guest at the point of checking, and the guest now wants to check in, and you guys are going to talk about policy, the hotel is wrong. At that point in time, the hotel is wrong. At the point of checking, every policy that needs to be communicated should be communicated to the guest so that it makes it easy for both the hotel and it makes it easy for the guest. So that's why you must develop that policy. I don't know if I've answered your question, sir.
Very well, sir. Now, the second question is, what if you promised to get back with the guest because you needed to confirm from your director or something, or your MD, you know, you needed to explain that situation to the MD and then see how you can work out something for the guest, and then you're supposed to get back to the guest. But you don't eventually have anything, you know, reasonable to get back, excuse me, to get back to the guest with. So what do you do at that instant?
So at that point, there must be timelines communicated. So, like I keep saying, or like I said earlier, you must communicate timeline, how long it's going to take to get back to the guest. And you see, when you're communicating with your director at this point in time, you must balance it. Balance it from the point that, see, we do not have policy for this. So you must balance it to your director. If you didn't have policy, so explain it to him. If you don't have policy for this that wasn't communicated to the guest, we owe the guest a refund. But if there was a policy, it is now your place to send the policy to the guest. But at that point that you need to get back to your director to get back to the guest, there needs to be a clearly defined timeline. How long will it take to get back to the guest? You need to clearly define it.
All right.
And for whatever reason, sir, I keep saying for whatever reason, if you don't have a definite response from a director, once is that time that you promised the guest, call them back. Call them back and tell them, please, I've not been able to get a definite answer. Please, can you just give me a little more time? What you're doing is that you're not taking them for granted, and you're making them know that you're making effort to get answers for them or possibly get refund for them. It will keep them a little bit, it will make them a little bit understanding than just completely leaving them in oblivion and not minding if they're angry or not.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other question, guys? Okay, so people that didn't hear anything, did you guys later hear?
Yes, we did. We did.
Okay. Okay, so we don't have any other questions, so we can wrap up this class for today. No other question, guys.
Good evening. Would the recording be dropped on YouTube again?
I didn't hear that.
The recording, today's recording, will it be on YouTube? Will you post it on YouTube?
Yes, we will also drop today's recording on YouTube. That's why, yes, we are recording. So we'll drop it on YouTube for everyone to go and replay. For those of you that will need to go and replay again, so it'll definitely be on YouTube, yes. All right. So in the absence of any other questions, the assessment will be dropped. Is Victor here? Victor, are you here? So Victor, confirm that you're here, and please on the group tell us when the assessment will be dropped. So please let me also say this. Okay, you're here. So when you drop the assessment, give it at least 10 hours. Shouldn't be more than 10 hours. After 10 hours, nobody should respond to it again. So give it up to 10 hours for people to be able to answer. On Sunday, Mr. Thomas will take us on financial leadership, and by next week, we'll step this up into more practical sessions. Please, I hope you're learning, and I hope you're putting these things into practice. Like I keep saying, what will make this more exciting is put it into practice, come back and tell us how far this is helping. It's very important. So the guest engineering thing that we just talked about, what I'm advising every manager here is go sit down and look at all your services, from your front desk to your bar, your kitchen, your purchasing, and see how you can engineer processes that will help fast track service and also make the guest experience very memorable. It will really help. So, Thomas, are you here?
Yes, I am. Full time.
Okay. All right. So, I think I finished just in time. So, is there something you want to throw in so that we can just wrap this up for today?
Well, I think you've done a good job already. You've touched all the gray areas, and it's evident in the fact that we don't even have too many questions. It speaks to the fact that you've brushed the topic very perfectly. So the gentlemen who couldn't join us today, I'm sure they really missed But thank God for the recording. They will have a share of it online. So thank you very much, sir.
All right, thank you so much. And I want to appreciate everybody that are still staying true to the course and implementing them, because yes, I know that a lot of people have started implementing them. So please, whatever concerns and issues you have, reach out to the group and share it with us. The process you started putting in place, share it with us. Now, what I'm expecting, so between now and Thomas, after your class on Sunday, by next week, I think maybe Wednesday or Thursday, every manager here, we are going to open the space for you. You come back with your presentation. So please, Victor, take note of this. Every manager on the group must come back with their presentation on guest and service engineering.
Okay, sir.
Pick out 2 things in your brand and show us what you've done to engineer better service. So that will be your assignment. So start working on it between now and next week. If you want to do PDF document, if you like, go to AI. When you come back, you explain it to us. We want the camera will look at you. We need to know that you've started engineering your service. So front office, bar, reservations, all the areas that connects to customers, check-in processes. We want to see what you've done that looks different than what other brands are doing. So we are giving that out as an assignment. Please engineer at least 2-3 services and you come back to us for presentation. So don't think that next week we'll talk alone. After Thomas' class on Sunday, next week Thursday or Wednesday, that's what we'll use to start the evening. We'll pick a day, maybe pick 5 managers. The next day, we'll pick 5 managers because we need to see that you started putting these processes into play. And let's see if we will not better your space. Thank you so much. Victor, please, everybody that needs the assessment updated, please update it, because by Friday or by Saturday, people that their assessment is not up to date, we'll remove you from the group by God's grace. All right. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you. Please drop your feedbacks on the group. Drop your questions. We'll respond to them. And do have a wonderful, wonderful night rest. We'll definitely see you on Sunday for financial leadership. Thank you so much, and do have a wonderful time, guys.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Mr.
you
Allen.
very
Good
much,
night.
sir. We appreciate
Thank you so much, Mr. Allen. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.